All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, according to Bleacher Report, the New York Giants are not expected to pick up the fifth year option of quarterback Daniel Jones. And quite honestly, no one should be surprised if this turns out to be true. Now, in 3 years with the Giants, Jones's record as a starting quarterback is just 12-25, while he has thrown 45 touchdowns and 29 interceptions, while also completing roughly 62% of his passes. And to put those numbers into perspective, Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford threw 43 and 41 touchdowns, respectively, this past season. Now, Jones has never been able to stay healthy since he joined the Giants, as there's been a myriad of injuries that have kept him on the sidelines, along with playing behind a very bad offensive line. He's also played under multiple offensive coordinators. I totally get that. But the thing is, even with all of that said, in watching Daniel Jones play, I've said it before and I'll say it again, we really haven't seen enough to show that, what, this guy, he is the guy and he's capable of doing big things in the NFL. Even he's one of those guys that everything has to be perfect around him in order to succeed. And honestly, he does not have the ability to make those around him better. And that right there is something that is very important coming from the quarterback position, especially in this current NFL. Now, Joe Shane, the new Giants general manager, along with head coach Brian Dayball, are not attached at the hip with Jones. And I've said that from day one. And I said that even before they were hired, when we knew that the Giants were going to be going in a different direction with their general manager and their head coach, that, whoever came in, and obviously it's Shane and Dayball, they're not attached at the hip with Daniel Jones. They didn't draft him. They have nothing in regards to do with him. And with that said, I don't see them, especially coming from Shane's aspect, I don't see him giving big money to a quarterback for 1 year that has proven or has not proven that he can get it done in this league, especially since the Giants are going to have some salary cap questions heading into next season. Now, publicly so far, the Giants have said everything right as far as Daniel Jones being their guy, and that includes co-owner John Mara. But like I said before, talk is cheap, and the thing is, there to me, I think there are several different ways that the Giants can go heading into next season at the most important position on the field. They could bring in a veteran quarterback that is going to push Jones for playing time. The name that you're hearing is Mitchell Trubisky, a former first round pick of the Chicago Bears. Of course, he most recently played with the Buffalo Bills, where, of course, Dayball was the offensive coordinator. And, of course, Joe Shane was the assistant general manager. Drafting a quarterback in the upcoming draft at some point, which I expect the Giants to do. It's not a slam dunk that New York is going to take a quarterback in the first round. They have the fifth overall selection. They also have the seventh overall selection in this upcoming draft. And, you look at the quarterbacks that are out there. I doubt that any of them are taken early on. A lot could change between now and the NFL draft in April. But at some point, being that you have a first year general manager and a first year head coach, they want to. I would really be surprised if they did not draft a quarterback at some point, because typically when that new head coach and a new GM come on the scene, they want to try to find a guy for their system going forward. You look at it, long shot, I doubt it happens. Trey Jones. It's something that is a super long shot, because at the end of the day, how much are the Giants going to get back for him in a trade if they're giving up on him at this point? So I mean, it's a possibility, but it's a very minuscule possibility at best. But I think overall, with this potential decision being made, and I think the decision has already been made, because at the end of the day, where there's smoke, there's fire. This shows that the Giants now have some adults in the room making decisions, which is the first time in a long time that I could say this about this beleaguered franchise. And to me, it also shows that John Mara is sticking to his word. As he said, and this was even before Joe Shane was hired, that you know what, he was going to stay out of the way and let that person do their respective job. He basically gave the keys to this franchise to one Joe Shane, and he's allowing him to build and develop this team in his mold. And that is what we have seen so far. And I think that process is going to continue. And I think this also shows that every player on the Giants roster should be on notice because, again, just like it is with Daniel Jones, Joe Shane and Brian Dayball are not attached at the hip with any of these players. Didn't draft them, didn't sign them as free agents. They're not their guys. And with that said, if you're Dayball and if you're Shane, and if you want to go out there and change the culture for this team, the bottom line is you got like there's going to be some roster overhaul. I mean, this is a squad, this is an organization that has only had one playoff appearance since their last Super Bowl championship in 2011. They have not won a playoff game, and they've only had two winning seasons over that stretch. And you look at it, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021 all resulted in the Giants losing at least 10 games each season. So, this franchise is consistently picking in the top 10 of the draft. They're consistently missing on those picks in the top 10 in the draft. And like I always say, when you miss on those picks, it sets your franchise back several years. And the thing is, Daniel Jones should not have been a top 10 pick in 2019. He should not have been a first round pick in 2019. And we're seeing the results of that. I mean, I know for some people it might sound like this is the Daniel Jones bashing session, but the bottom line is it is what it is. You go back and watch Daniel Jones when he played collegiately at Duke. Was there anything that stood out against for him against the competition in the ACC? And the answer was no. And you look at it, the talent around him that he's facing has gotten better since he was in college. And obviously, if he's having issues protecting the football in college, he's going to have those same issues in the NFL because the people that he's facing are better. And you look at the way that the edge rushers are coming after him, and everybody knows he has issues protecting the football. Then on top of that, Daniel Jones has had issues throughout his NFL career as far as if his first option is not there in the passing game, where does he go? Now, part of that is Daniel Jones, but also, like I said, part of that is the offensive line around him. So all of these things have to be fixed. So I look at it like this. I think at the end of the day, Daniel Jones will be on the Giants roster for 2022. I think that this new regime and Joe Shane and Brian Dayball, they're going to give him every opportunity to go out there and ball out and show that you know what he can be a part of this team going forward. So the onus is going to be on Daniel Jones. With that said, I don't see them just making it easy for him, saying, you know what, you're our guy, X, Y, and Z. No, I think that the Giants are going to create some heat. They're probably going to bring in a veteran quarterback. They're probably going to draft somebody as well at some point to let Daniel Jones know, hey, you know what? It's not a slam dunk for you. So it's make or break time for this kid to see what he can do going forward. Um, I think this is a great strategic move by the Giants. We're seeing it more and more from teams around the NFL where they're not picking up those 50-year options for quarterbacks that have been drafted in the first round because let's be realistic. Some of these guys that have been drafted in the first round have been reaches. And it's not just Daniel Jones, it's a lot of quarterbacks around the NFL recently who have been reaches in the first round just because a team needs a quarterback. And just because you need a quarterback, or just because you're fearful that somebody else might come up and get them, doesn't mean that you have to go up there and take that quarterback in the top 10 or top 20 or you name it, especially when you have other needs and especially if that respective player doesn't have a first round draft grade. So I look at it like this. This is due to the sins of former general manager Dave Gettleman. Joe Shane is cleaning up. He's cleaning house, and everybody within the Giants roster better ship up or shape up, or they will be shipped out. And Daniel Jones is no different than anybody else. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 pounds of sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.